San Gimignano is a well-known small medieval town located in the heart of Tuscany in the province of Siena. San Gimignano is first of all known for the medieval architecture and particularly for the well-known preservation of tower houses which form the unmistakable skyline of the town. The town is known for the quality of saffron and for one of the ancient wine production of Tuscany. In San Gimignano we can find both white and red wines, and today I'd like to tell you something about the most prestigious wine from there, Vernaccia di San Gimignano. Vernaccia di San Gimignano, where Vernaccia is the name of the grape, played an important role in the wine legislation of Italy because Vernaccia di San Gimignano in 1966 was the first Italian wine that obtained the DOCG. So Vernaccia opened the history of wine appellation in Italy. According to the requirements of the appellation, Vernaccia must be made at least from 85% of the grape Vernaccia, but it is allowed to use 15% of other variety of grapes, but we can say that the trend is toward 100% of Vernaccia, because Vernaccia is the best grape to explore the extraordinary terroir of the area that surround the village of San Gimignano. You know that when we talk about terroir, we are talking about the interaction, the connections between the vines, the geological composition of the soil, the geographical environment, and then the farmers, the social history of the area. And the geology of San Gimignano is so peculiar because it is important to remember that until up the Pliocene epoch, it means until up 2,500,000 years ago, that geologically means yesterday in the geological time scale, the hills around San Gimignano were the seabed, sea floor. So soils are formed on marine deposit consisting of yellow sand, also known as tufo, often rich in the presence of fossil shells left there by the old sea. And the average of the altitude of the hills is about between 250, 350 meters, but the imprint of the minerality is particularly important when we talk about Vernaccia. And I'd like to show you three different wines from three different wineries of Vernaccia di San Gimignano boundaries. I must say that I like particularly Vernaccia, we like particularly Vernaccia di San Gimignano. And the first one that I show you is one of the most important, one of the most remarkable wine from San Gimignano, Fiore 2021 from Montenidoli. Montenidoli is a small winery run by Elisabetta Fagioli. She is the producer of a very artisanal wine, and Fiore means that this wine is made only from the free-run juice of the grape after a very soft pressing. And the second one that I show you is Vernaccia di San Gimignano, again 2021 from San Benedetto, another example of a small family winery. And I'd like to taste for you the 2021 from Cesani. Cesani is another leading winery of the area. Typically, Vernaccia di San Gimignano is fermented and aged in stainless steel in order to preserve the peculiar salinity, minerality derives from the geological history of the area where the vines are planted. But I like to mention some examples of wines from San Gimignano, from Vernaccia, fermented and aged in oak barrels. And I suggest to search for this wine when you're looking for a white wine from Tuscany with an amazing potential of aging. It is well known among the wine lovers, the wine tasters, that Vernaccia di San Gimignano is a white wine with a great predisposition to the aging. And I like to remember that since 5-6 years, in San Gimignano, every year in January, there is an important wine tasting. It's a wine tasting for insiders, for wine journalists, wine critics from all over the world, where in a blind wine tasting, Vernaccia di San Gimignano is compared to a white wine from another of the greatest white wine appellations of the world. Vernaccia has been compared to Sancerre, to Pouilly-Fumé, and particularly it has been explored the potential of aging. Vernaccia di San Gimignano is a wine that we can describe really as a mineral. The minerality, as I mentioned, derives from the geological composition of the soil. As the crow flies, we are about 120 kilometers from the coastal area of Tuscany, but Vernaccia really remains sea flavor due to the geological history. So it is always important to to focus on the geological composition, one of the most important voice of the definition of terroir. The Vernaccia I'm going to taste is young, is 2001, so just been released, and so we can appreciate, we can taste the fruity and floral hints. Typically, Vernaccia smells of white flowers, of white and yellow fruit. For example, there is a typical hints of quince, of mature quince, yellow peach. We can smell some vegetal note, aromatic herbs, Mediterranean scrubs. But the aromatic profile is punctuated by the continuous minerality. This wine really reminds the geological origin of the area where vines are planted. We can recognize some hints of almond, dry fruit. Another typical flavor of Vernaccia, cereal. As we expect by a young Vernaccia, by a white wine with an amazing potential of aging, the mouth is rich of freshness, is so crisp, so drinkable. Vernaccia di San Gimignano, particularly when we are talking about a young one, is very easy to drink with freshness, minerality, salinity, and with a characteristic almond finish. Almond is one of the typical hints of Vernaccia, and this complexity, this minerality, the salinity makes Vernaccia di San Gimignano very flexible in wine and food pairing. You can have a young Vernaccia, young means rich of freshness, of acidity, with all fish dishes, but for example, with risotto with pumpkins or something sweet, or with fresh pasta with mushrooms. We are still at the end of the season of mushrooms, with fresh or medium mature cheese. And when you are going to have an old Vernaccia, Vernaccia has a potential of aging at least of 15, 20 years, you can pair this wine with a more complex dish. You can increase the complexity of the meals. I am not so particularly surprised about the salty persistence of the wine that I'm feeling while I am talking, because I must confess that Vernaccia di San Gimignano is one of the bottles of white wine that I bring more often at home in the evening. Thank you.